President Trump has caught some feels from a recent poll and is now asking CNN to retract and apologize. Why? It's because this poll showed Donald Trump losing to Joe Biden. So now, following the poll's release, which was conducted by SSRS, so it wasn't even like it was reported by CNN. Okay. Now, this showed Biden with a double-digit lead, and Donald Trump's, of course, disastrously low approval ratings. So both of those things combined made Trump very unhappy. And so as a result, the White House literally sent a strongly worded letter. It was a cease and desist letter to Jeff Zucker. Baby. Sad. All right, let's get into it. The letter to CNN accuses the networks of trying to mislead American voters through a biased questionnaire. Now, let me stop there for a second. I don't know how many of you have seen the poll questions on like Donald Trump's site or Donald Trump like related, Facebook pages. Like, I've seen those polls. They are incredibly biased. And so I'm kind of wondering, like, wait, hold on here. Wait, king of biased polls complaining about biased polls. Ridiculous. You've got to be kidding. Not only that, but they said they had skewed sampling, and they claimed that CNN released a phony poll to cause voter suppression. Get fake polls. Fake news, fake polls. Everything fake. Now, here's the thing. Here's what's interesting, right? So the poll has Biden up by double digits, right? So you would think that this kind of poll might actually have the reverse. It might hurt turnout for Joe Biden. Well, now think about this, right? So I talk about Democratic hubris all the freaking time, okay? Democratic Party tends to be like drowning in hubris. At least they were during the 2016 election, because we saw, of course, a lot of these kinds of similar polls, and yet here we have Donald Trump as president. It was that whole attitude of, Donald Trump's a monster. He's horrible. Don't worry, Hillary's got this. The American people aren't going to vote in somebody like Donald Trump. Are you kidding me? I kind of see a little bit of that on this side, but of course things are much different now, and I'll explain the difference in a minute. But there's that whole thing of, oh no, Hillary's got it. Donald Trump's terrible. The American people won't vote this guy in. And now at the same, it's like, oh no, Donald Trump's terrible. He's had 4 years to prove how terrible he is. There's no way Americans will vote for that guy. I don't know about that. I'm just saying, I don't know about that. So people got cocky. They got overconfident. And then, of course, you had a wave of non-registered, unlikely voters. They showed up, and there went the Electoral College. And you got to add in, of course, voter suppression to every single election. As we see voter suppression, that's why sometimes, and I shouldn't do this, but sometimes it's almost like I forget to mention it explicitly, because in my mind, voter suppression is baked in. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I expect that to happen. I expect electoral fuckery. Okay? That's what I expect all the time from Republicans, from Brian Kemp in Georgia, and of course Ron DeSantis in Florida. Heavily minority areas, always with the voter suppression. White areas, very little voter suppression, because whiter areas tend to vote for more Republicans. White rural areas, I should say, tend to vote for Republicans. And so it is baked in. Okay. Now, that's it. I feel like the Trump campaign didn't quite think this one through. I mean, shocker, right? Now, CNN reports that the letter makes several incorrect and misleading claims. I almost went incoherent there, including taking issue with it being conducted before the May jobs report release, despite it being conducted up through the day that came out. The campaign also takes issue with the percentage of Republicans it surveyed, but CNN says this was consistent with their other polls. So they appear, of course, to take issue with oversampling Democrats, whereas like CNN said, no, we always do this. This is how we conduct our polls. Here is our methodology. It is quite clear. And Donald Trump says, I caught feels. So now the poll, as I said before, showed Biden beating Trump by 14 points among registered voters. It also showed the president's approval rating dropping to 38%. Oh, that's disastrous. That is disastrous. It's almost George W. Bush numbers at the end of his term. And again, that was at the end of his 8 years. Donald Trump hit that in his first term. But again, get this. The main reason, as I said, that he wants this poll retracted is because it gave him the feels. He was not happy about this. Trump declared that he felt the results were fake based on the incredible enthusiasm he was receiving. I feel whatever happened to the we choose feelings over facts over feelings, because it appears you're choosing feelings over facts. All right. Anyway, now the incredible enthusiasm. There's no way there could be a fake poll. When I'm over here in my little bunker, there's a lot of enthusiasm here in the bunker. This is right after Gallup showed Donald Trump's approval rating falling by 10%. The enthusiasm, incredible. The tremendous enthusiasm. Look, to be fair, of course, in his cult, they probably are enthusiastic. That 20-30% of the country that is hardcore Trump, MAGA, Fox News, whatever, they ain't gonna leave your side. You ain't gonna reach those people. They are convinced through, of course, propaganda, media, that there are no failures in the Trump administration, and that if there are any failures, it's the result of the Democrats, the deep state, Trump's enemies, the media, on and on. None of the fault of the president. The president is completely void of any of the mistakes, right? It's always someone else's fault. So I think Trump only sees people that are in his bubble. And he surrounds himself, of course, with yes men. And look, numerous stories of people having to be very, very careful not to offend the baby, right? So they're not going to give him the truth. Or at least they're not going to do it in a way that offends his very, very thin sensibilities, right? To go through his very, very thin skin. And so they're going to be very careful to either, I believe, hide news that makes him, enraged, basically, or to try to spin it in a way that doesn't make it quite so bad. And so I think Trump also lacks the capability and the emotional ability, the emotional maturity to realize that a majority of this country actually despises him. I don't think he knows that. I mean, Donald Trump had a major advantage against Hillary Clinton, right? People were saying, well, how could Trump be worse than Hillary? Hillary's horrible. Well, now he has had 4 years to show us in many ways how he actually was worse. I mean, 114,000 dead from COVID-19, over 2 million cases, 20% real unemployment, the U6, police brutality, huge protests. I can go on. It was a complete and utter disaster of a presidency. And he's got to, and this is what's different here, right? So what's different is Trump now has to defend his record. Instead of going up against Hillary Clinton, who was a deeply, deeply unpopular candidate with, yes, a ton of baggage. And I'm not saying Joe Biden doesn't have a ton of baggage. He absolutely does. No. Joe Biden is still more popular than Hillary Clinton. And so Donald Trump is even more unpopular than he was before. So he said, don't vote for me. What do you have to lose? Well, in the intervening years, they've lost a lot. People have lost quite a bit. And so, look, he's got to run against, and again, Joe Biden is super, super lucky, right? So now he's got so many advantages. Not only is he, to people, and this is not my opinion, right? This is, I think, the opinion. This is based on the majority of voters, right? They like Joe Biden. He is more likable than Hillary Clinton. And that's one of the advantages. Not only that, but he's got to go up against a deeply unpopular president who presided over a recession, a pandemic, and the fact that he wasn't Hillary Clinton, and also the fact that he was VP during a time when Americans could afford to not pay attention to politics and therefore didn't realize how bad things were. Okay? I mean, I don't think you should underestimate, as I did, because I underestimated the calls to return to normal. I really did. I thought that, no. Now that people know what's going on and that they're informed, well, they surely don't want to return to normal. They want to do something better. They want a political revolution. Well, it turns out, not so much. And I was wrong about that. Now, I happen to believe that normal is never going to be enough. And that's what brought us Donald Trump. Normal. But unfortunately, that, at least electorally, not policy-wise, people want that return to normal more than they want immediate progressive change, right? I'm not saying that they don't want progressive change. I mean, look, you have policies like Medicare for All that are increasingly popular. And so we have that. But even when given a choice of a candidate running for president, Bernie Sanders, for example, people, said, yes, we should go to a single-payer healthcare system. Massive majorities in these states that voted for Joe Biden in the primaries. And so again, there's that call to let's just return to normal insanity and then we can move forward. And unfortunately, I know that's not the way that it happens. And so that's one of the reasons I'm incredibly disappointed at this primary election and the way that everything went down and how I think we're really missing an opportunity to get real progressive change, because I don't believe that we'll get progressive change. And yes, I break with Bernie Sanders on this one because he says, oh no, I do believe that you can push Joe. Well, I don't. I just don't. And you can disagree with me, and that's absolutely fine. But again, return to normal, right? And here's the thing. I understand why people are in favor of that. Again, massive, massive disaster, right? And the majority of voters already have signaled the fact that they first and foremost want Donald Trump gone. Even huge Biden critics, like, for example, Kyle Kalinske and Crystal Ball over at Rising, they say, okay, priority, Trump's got to go, even if I might have to at least vote, like maybe vote for Biden. So, and that's a really different stand than what they had taken just weeks ago, from what I understand. And so, it was, never Biden, or I'm just going to set out the election, as Kyle had stated before. And now it's like, okay, he's now using troops against American citizens. We can't have that. Like, he's got to go. He's got to go. And so, understand, though, I think that Donald Trump, for many reasons, is in trouble. He's in big trouble. Maybe he knows it. Maybe he doesn't. But asking CNN to retract a negative poll, well, is both hilarious and very, very sad, and tells you exactly who Donald Trump is. Hey guys, hopefully you enjoyed that free video. Now I'm going to have to ask you a favor. Between the demonetization and the YouTube algorithm messing around with view counts, etc., we're having a hard time adjusting to the new YouTube reality, which is where you guys come in. See, we have a Patreon, patreon.com/TYTNation, set up to help us rely on you guys, the viewers, instead of big corporate ads. Look, you know the show. You know how I'm not in favor of big corporations anyway. So help us transition away from relying on the ad model to pay the bills and sign up to be a patron, patreon.com/TYTNation. That goes a long way to help us keep the lights on. And you guys will know that you're supporting independent progressive media.